Xu Chu wished to be a modest wife for 2 years, but in exchange for a man's words, "My wife, anyone is fine." She was heartbroken and signed a divorce agreement. 6 years later, she returned with 2 adorable cubs on the hook. An extraordinary medical skill, professional archaeologist, jewelry appraiser. Still the daughter of the richest family, with multiple armor identities, shocking people's eyes. Back then, the adoptive parents who had severed ties with Xu Chuyuan said, "She's just an orphan that we don't want in our family." Bai Lianhua, a scumbag, Xu Chuyuan pretended to be the daughter of the richest man, "He's a liar." Unexpectedly, the richest man personally appeared and said, "Chubao is indeed my daughter. She is currently seeking marriage in public. We welcome outstanding young talents to come and propose marriage." Later, when Xu Chuyuan was about to marry someone else, Yanzhou looked red and came to snatch the wedding, saying, "Chubao, my wife, it can only be you, no one can do it." Chapter 1. Are you feeling unwell? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xu Chuyuan, you useless thing. You've been married for 3 years and can't even conceive a child. Your identity is still unknown. The Bo family doesn't want a young lady from a slum background. You deserve iron. Be more witty and divorce Ian quickly. Nowadays, Ling Wei is the true daughter of the Xu family. During this period, she and Ian have been like glue, and it is estimated that soon they will give birth to a chubby grandson for me. The position of our thin daughter. Law can only be hers. Early in the morning, Xu Chuyuan had not yet woken up when she was pulled off the bed by her mother. Law Song Yun and subjected to a series of insults and insults. Xu Chuyuan's sharp voice almost deafened her ears. She looked a bit dazed. A month ago, she was found to have a blood-type mismatch with her father, which led to the Oolong incident where she and Su Lingwei were held incorrectly in the hospital. The Xu family immediately conducted an online search for relatives. About 20 days later, the police found the person whose data matched. It was Su Lingwei, who grew up in an orphanage. In order to compensate Su Lingwei, the Xu family held a grand family recognition banquet on the day she returned and announced that they would completely sever their relationship with Xu Chuyuan. Recognizing one's own blood and bones is understandable, and making initial wishes can also be understood. What she couldn't accept was that Su Lingwei was actually the person hidden at the tip of Bo Yanzhou's heart. On the night of recognizing her family, Su Lingwei accidentally fell into the water and almost drowned. She was slandered by the Xu family as a murderer. At the most helpless moment, her husband Bo Yanzhou jumped into the water with an urgent expression she had never seen before. Rescuing Su Lingwei later, she found out that the two had known each other for a long time. At first, it was her mother. Law who looked down on Su Lingwei and secretly separated the two. Now that Su Lingwei's identity has been restored, the person who was despised has become herself. Song Yun's insults continue. I made a wish, but I couldn't hear a single word. Her mind was filled with thoughts. Bo Yanzhou, wanting to marry Su Lingwei and enter the door when Bo Yanzhou returned, it was already 10 o'clock in the evening. He seems to have drunk alcohol and has a faint smell of alcohol on his body. The suit jacket has long disappeared, leaving only a white shirt and black pants. With a tall and straight body, he is exceptionally handsome. Perhaps he had drunk a lot, and his handsome face was slightly tipsy. His phoenix eyes, which were slightly raised with affection, were slightly flushed at the end. Xu Chuyuan is willing to sit on the sofa and wait for him. She has already taken a shower and is wearing thin camisole pajamas. A beautiful figure, exquisitely crafted, with curves revealing, a pair of long legs slightly curved, extremely tempting. Upon seeing this, Bo Yanzhou immediately wrapped his arms around her from behind and lowered his head to her neck, taking a deep breath. It smells so good, are you buying new pajamas? When he spoke, he didn't forget to peck and kiss her ears and neck. After a man gets drunk, his sexual desire is even heavier than normal, and with a clear understanding of her sensitive points, within a few seconds, Xu Chuyuan's whole body becomes numb from being teased. If this had happened in the past, Xu Chuyuan would not have rejected his closeness. But tonight, she was a bit resistant. This man may have just come from Su Lingwei's side. Thinking of this, she felt extremely uncomfortable, and the bit of desire that had been stirred quickly cooled down. She instinctively wants to avoid. Bai Lianhua noticed and asked in a hoarse voice, "What are you hiding from?" "Don't want to." Xu Chuyuan endured his emotions for a whole day, but couldn't bring himself to be interested. "Well, I don't want to." Her tone couldn't help but be cold and sarcastic, dirty. Bai Lianhua didn't hear any implied meaning from her, but his movements paused for a moment. "Just finished socializing, it's a bit dirty. Can you accompany me to wash it again?" Without waiting for Su's initial wish to react, he intervened and carried the person into the bathroom. In no time, the sound of dripping water came. Xu Chuyuan was drenched from head to toe. The camisole pajamas are tightly attached to the skin, creating a clear and eye-catching silhouette that makes one's blood boil. Bai Lianhua's lust was high, and he couldn't resist kissing and plundering. The strength of Xu Chuyuan can't resist the attack of crazy rainstorm. 1 hour later, the clouds and rain suddenly subsided. Xu Chuyuan had not yet regained consciousness from the previous strong affection when he saw the man handing over a document. "Sign this one." After taking a glance, Xu Chuyuan couldn't help but be taken aback. "That's a divorce agreement." So he had plans for divorce long ago. Xu Chuyuan suddenly felt a bit ridiculous. They are already preparing for divorce, why can he still do such a thing with himself like nothing happened? Are you really using yourself as a warm-up tool? Xu Chuyuan felt a pang of discomfort in her heart and couldn't help but sarcastically say, "Today your mother said you want to remarry Su Lingwei and come in. It seems like it's true." Bai Lianhua's eyes twitched slightly, without admitting or denying, he just replied, "Our marriage was wrong from the beginning. In an instant, I made my initial wish as if I had been plunged into a vast abyss." She thought for a day and worked hard to find an excuse to sustain her 3-year marriage. But ultimately, it cannot be defeated by the word wrong. This marriage. She's the only one who takes it seriously. Xu Chu wished for his heart to ache, but he didn't allow himself to feel embarrassed in front of him. She took a deep breath and suddenly raised her hand, forcefully pushing Bai Lianhua onto the bed. Bai Lianhua was unprepared and fell down, looking a bit surprised. "Xu Chuyuan, what are you doing?" Xu Chuyuan sat cross over his waist, picked up his newly put-on pajamas, and looked at him from a high position, like a queen. "It's nothing, I just feel that since Mr. Bo treats marriage as a child's play, it shouldn't be a big deal for me to turn around and play with you. Anyway, we're all going to leave, so I'll treat it as a sacrifice for the past and demand some compensation. Of course, if you're not willing, I can pay you afterwards. The top-tier cowherd outside may cost tens of thousands of yuan per night. Mr. Bo has a good appearance, so I'll give you double the price." How about that? When she said this, her tone was both frivolous and presumptuous. Looking at his gaze, it seemed like he was a duck casually ordered in a nightclub. Bai Lianhua cannot bear this insult. His eyes seemed to ignite 2 sparks, and his tone was mixed with anger. "Make a wish, do you want to die?" Xu Chuyuan was fearless and said, "Yes, if you have the ability, you can kill me." Bai Lianhua gritted his teeth. That night, all night long, the wind and rain did not stop. The man punished her as if he was really going to kill her, trying to tease her hard. Xu Chuyuan refused to be outdone and tore at him, leaving heavy marks everywhere. "Everything has come to an end, it's already past 4 o'clock in the morning." Bai Lianhua fell into a deep sleep. Xu Chuyuan, dragging his broken body, got up and signed a divorce agreement. The next day, Bai Lianhua was awakened by a phone call. The caller is a doctor from a private hospital in Haicheng. Hello Mr. Bo, this is the first hospital. Your wife has come to our hospital for a physical examination, and the report shows that she has no physical problems in all aspects. She said that it may be you who is infertile, so we have specially registered an expert account for male reproductive health examination for you. May I ask when are you available to come over? Bo Yanzhou. He instantly disappeared from his drowsiness, his face turning black like the bottom of a pot, and said coldly, I don't need it. The doctor said, Mr. Bo, if you have a disease, you should treat it as soon as possible. Infertility is not a shameful thing. Our hospital has the highest success rate of cure in the country. Bo Yanzhou was so angry that he hung up the phone and killed Xu Chuyuan's heart. Chapter 3. Ex-wife returns. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this point, Xu Chuyuan had already taken the elevator and arrived at the underground parking lot. Her third brother Huasiyu has already sent a driver to wait here. Miss, the driver respectfully greeted Xu Chuyuan as he got off the car, then go around to the other side and help her open the car door. Xu Chuyuan nodded and was about to get on the car when he suddenly heard a faint sound in his ear. It seems. It's coming from the back of the car. She couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Are there any small animals? Miss, what's wrong? The driver asked in confusion. Xu Chuyuan didn't answer, but walked around to the back of the car and looked at the situation. It's okay if I don't look at it, I'm scared at first sight. I saw a little girl sneaking into the car. The little girl's body was still half exposed, and she could see her pink skirt hem and small feet wearing cute princess shoes. Xu Chuyuan was frightened and quickly crouched down to ask, Little sister, what are you doing? It's very dangerous, do you know? As she spoke, she carefully pulled out the child under the car. The driver followed over and saw this scene, feeling a wave of fear. How could there be a child behind this? It's too dangerous. Fortunately, miss, you noticed, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. Xu Chuyuan nodded and looked at the little milk ball that she had pulled out. The little girl looked at her, even smaller than Steady, but she had a very beautiful appearance, and her features were as beautiful as finely crafted. Her delicate little nose is quite upturned, her sparkling big eyes, long eyelashes, and she is wearing a pink princess dress, which is particularly cute. Perhaps she was under the car just now and rubbed against something dirty. Now her face is a bit dirty and her expression is a bit confused. Xu Chuyuan looked at her silly and cute appearance, and suddenly thought of the daughter she had lost in the past. If she grows up well, her appearance may not be lower than this little cutie at this moment. Xu Chuyuan softened her voice and spoke to the little girl, Little sister, why are you here alone and still getting under the car? Where are your parents? Her tone of concern is very gentle. The little girl finally regained her senses, but remained silent, looking at Xu Chuyuan's expression with a hint of shyness. A pair of eyes, constantly glancing under the car. Xu Chuyuan asked in confusion, do you have anything that fell under the car? The little girl remained silent, just leaned forward and planned to continue drilling. The driver saw it next to him and said, this child, there should be something that fell into the bottom of the car, right? Xu Chuyuan also guessed this way. She couldn't have let the little girl continue to drill under the car, so she raised her hand and pulled the person over, gently saying, Little sister, did you drop something? Auntie helped you pick it up, don't drill, your little face is dirty. Speaking softly, she helped the little girl wipe away the dirt on her cheeks. The little girl was taken aback by her actions. This aunt. So gentle. How warm your palms are. No one has treated her like this except for Daddy. She immediately felt that this aunt was so close. Xu Chu wished to see her so well behaved that his heart was about to melt. He immediately instructed the driver, Uncle Lin, please drive the car forward a bit. Good Uncle Lin immediately took orders to do it. Quickly, the car was moved away, and Xu Chuyuan immediately went to search for what she had left behind. It wasn't long before I saw it. It was an item similar to headphones. Upon closer inspection, it is a hearing aid. Look at that size, it's obviously for children. Xu Chuyuan was stunned for a moment, quickly came forward to pick it up and asked the little girl, "Is it yours?" The little girl didn't answer, but her face had already shown a joyful expression. She lifted her tender white hand and went over to pick it up, looking as if she had found a treasure. It's really hers. The initial wish was immediately confirmed. No wonder the little girl hasn't said a word since just now. Originally, it was because the ears couldn't hear. At this point, the little girl had already put the hearing aid back into her ear. She lifted her little head and looked at Xu Chuyuan, saying in a soft and sticky voice, "Xinger. Couldn't hear you just now." "Thank you, Auntie." Xu Chuyuan listened to this stuttering and incoherent tone, feeling uneasy in his heart. This child, who is so young and cute, yet has such a flaw. As a doctor and also as a mother of a child, she couldn't help but feel heartbroken. Quickly said, "No need to thank you, it should be. But now that the hearing aid has been found, where are you going? Should we take you to the police uncle's place or contact your parents?" After hearing this, Xinger lowered her eyes in disappointment and said, "Don't be a police officer. Uncle, Mommy. Isn't here, Daddy. Busy." Xu Chuyuan felt inexplicably resentful. The parents of this child are also too irresponsible. She frowned and asked the little girl, "What is your parents' phone number? Give it to me, I'll tell him. Even if I'm busy, I can't ignore you." Xinger was a bit stunned when she saw her aunt suddenly angry, but she obediently reached out her little hand. She wears a phone watch on her wrist with her father's contact information on it. Upon seeing the situation, Xu Chuyuan immediately clicked on it and dialed the phone. In no time, the connection was made over there, and then a magnetic, slightly low voice came over, "Hello." After Xu Chuyuan heard it, the first thought that came to his mind was, "This voice is really beautiful." The second thought is, how could this voice be a bit familiar? Where does she seem to have heard of it? However, she didn't forget the purpose of making this phone call and asked, "Hello, may I ask if it's Xiaoxinger's father?" On the other end of the phone, Bai Lianhua heard a woman's voice, frowned, took off his phone, and confirmed the caller. "It's indeed my precious daughter's phone number. But why does he feel that this voice seems familiar? Just like the voice of that long-lost ex-wife." Chapter 4. I must find her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bai Lianhua squinted his eyes slightly, feeling uneasy and uncertain in his heart. He deliberately lowered his voice and let out a "hm." Simple syllables exude a hint of indifference. Xu Chuyuan didn't notice the problem and said, "It's like this. I just met your daughter in the underground parking lot of the hospital. Her hearing aid fell under the car and she crawled in to find it. She almost ran into danger. If I hadn't discovered it in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable." She put Xinger in the role of her own child, her tone becoming more and more serious. "Sir, as the father of the child, how could you bear to leave such a child here? At least you can play a role as a guardian, right?" Upon hearing the woman's rebuke, Bai Lianhua couldn't help but be taken aback. "Xinger, shouldn't you be at home? How did you run to the hospital?" However, through this lengthy conversation, he was even more certain that this voice was truly 7 or 8 points similar to Xu Chuyuan. After 5 years, has that woman finally appeared? Did you also meet Xinger? Bai Lianhua's eyes darkened and became unclear. He remembered the promiscuous behavior when Xu Chuyuan disappeared 5 years ago, which led to him being urged by the hospital several times to go see a urology department. Later, for some reason, this matter spread outside. He had his reputation ruined for a whole year. It was not until later that Xing'er appeared and confirmed that it was his biological child, and the rumor of infertility was self-debunked. Bai Lianhua's face turned black with anger when he thought of the unjust deeds he had suffered in the past. Make a wish, as long as you appear. In recent years, it has been really easy for me to find it. Bai Lianhua raised his eyes and said to Xu Chuyuan, wait for me in the same place, I'll go over now. After speaking, he quickened his pace and walked towards the direction of the elevator. But just then, a hurried footsteps came from behind. Mr. Bai, please stay. The dean has caught up. He gasped for breath, grateful for his timely pursuit. Bai Lianhua stopped and gave him a cold glance, as if silently asking, what else is there? The dean wiped the sweat off his forehead, looking a bit embarrassed, and asked, Mr. Bai, that. As you mentioned before, we need to donate a batch of medical equipment to the hospital. Is this still a matter? Previously, Bai Lianhua promised that if he could find the divine doctor to cure his daughter's ear, Bai would donate a batch of medical equipment. Although it may seem empty today, at least it also provides clues. The most important thing is that the hospital really needs that batch of equipment. Bai Lianhua didn't have time to talk to him much, but he deserved to say it simply, count it, I'll have my assistant contact you later. After finishing this sentence, the elevator also arrived, and Bai Lianhua directly entered the elevator. The dean gratefully said outside the elevator, thank you, Mr. Bai. I will thank you on behalf of our hospital and patients. Please take your time. The elevator door slowly closed and descended straight to the floor of the underground parking lot. Bai Lianhua only then remembered that the phone was still on. He lowered his head and glanced at his phone, but at some point, it had already been hung up. At this moment, Xu Chuyuan's expression in the underground parking lot was already startled. Just now, she suspected that she had hallucinated, and only then could she hear the dog man's voice from Bai Lianhua. But obviously not. That brief response, along with the respectful Mr. Bai from the dean, who else could there be besides him? What a sight! I didn't expect to meet him on my first day back. This is completely beyond her expectations. When she came to Haiqing this time, she never thought about having any involvement with those people from the past. She only planned to leave after completing the task. As a result, the fate came so suddenly. Surprisingly, he even found his daughter Xu Chuyuan's gaze couldn't help but be a bit complicated, looking at Xing'er. I didn't know just now, but upon closer inspection, I could tell that there was indeed a hint of thin banjo between her eyebrows and eyes. Moreover, this little girl looks like she's already 4 years old. Did Bai Lianhua immediately have children with Su Lingwei after his divorce? Haha. I really can't wait. Although Xu Chuyuan had long neglected Bai Lianhua. But when I thought about his relationship with Su Lingwei, there was still some physiological discomfort. She endured the discomfort and asked the little girl, Xing'er, is your father Bai Lianhua? Xing'er answered every question and obediently nodded her little head, After answering, he tilted his head curiously and asked in a milky voice, Auntie. How do you know? Xu Chuyuan smiled reluctantly and said, on the phone just now, I heard someone calling him Mr. Bai. I guessed, your dad might come to pick you up soon. I'll have this driver grandpa take you over to find him, okay? As for her, she doesn't intend to meet that man, so naturally she won't continue to wait here. Soon, Xu Chuyuan stood up and prepared to board the car. Xing'er saw that she was about to leave, and suddenly anxiously grabbed her clothes and asked, Auntie. Where are you going? She is slower in language compared to her peers due to poor hearing. At this moment, in a hurry, he spoke intermittently, I want to repay you. Pretty aunt, no driver grandpa. Xu Chuyuan felt inexplicably heartbroken when he saw it. Especially her flustered little expression almost crushed her heart. But reason told her that this could be the child of Bai Lianhua and Su Lingwei. Xu Chuyuan took a deep breath, comforted her, and said, "You don't need to repay me. It's just a simple matter, but I have an urgent matter now and must leave first, so. Xiaoxinger, can you be obedient?" Xinger's eyes were slightly red, clearly unwilling. But she also understood that she couldn't cling to her beautiful aunt. Finally, I could only slowly loosen the hem of Xu Chuyuan's clothes and say, "Xinger. I understand." Xu Chuyuan quietly breathed a sigh of relief when he saw her obedient, and then quickly got into the driver's seat. After the car started, she instructed the driver, "Uncle Lin, you have the child. Her father will come over soon, and you can hand over the person when the time comes." "Okay." Uncle Lin responded. Then Xu Chuyuan didn't pause at all, stepped on the accelerator, and quickly left. Chapter 2. Love at First Sight, Would You Like to Come Home With Me? You are listening at novelfull.audio. 5 years later, Haicheng, the first hospital. Xu Chuyuan had just finished a 6-hour surgery and returned to the lounge. Before he could catch his breath, he heard his phone message ringing non-stop. She pinched her brow and opened it to look. The WeChat messages of the family group have accumulated hundreds. All complaints. Big brother Su Sihan. At Chubao, this morning during a meeting, I opened my computer and found that your son had implanted a virus. The decryption method was to say, "I'm a fool" 3 times in front of the camera. I was forced to say this sentence 3 times in front of all the senior executives of the group. My second brother Su Sai said, "Do you have me in trouble?" At the regular meeting of the law firm this morning, that brat asked me to dance in front of the camera and even twist my waist. My cold and serious image as a legal elite has been completely destroyed. Hua Siyu, the third brother surnamed after his mother, said, "Family members, I have been sent to the hot search again." Sharing link. Hashtag Hua Dinglu forgot to bring a paper in the bathroom, got trapped for an hour, and finally called for help from passers-by. Hashtag Dr. Dad, should. Who asked you to leave the family's inherited medical skills and pharmaceutical companies to your sister? If you don't mess with you, who will you mess with? My mother, who loves archaeology and barbecue, said, "Husband, don't worry, your precious ginseng king has been ground into powder and scattered in the lake to feed the king." Dad. Xu Chuyuan brushed through some of the information in the group, but couldn't help but laugh out loud. She can already imagine how the family is now bustling with excitement. She quickly dialed a phone number. In no time, a small, milky voice came from over there. "Hey, Chubao." Upon hearing this soft and cute voice, Xu Chuyuan's heart softened and he found it amusing. "Is it impossible to change the title that my family calls me? Mommy doesn't even shout." She said helplessly, "Steady baby, what's going on? Why are you starting to mess with your uncle and grandfather again?" The little one snorted arrogantly upon hearing Mommy's words and said, "Who made them all throw their work to you?" Chubao had only been in the research room for half a month before, and finally could take a break. Without even saying a word, he went to Haicheng. He complained in a grievance, "It's all my uncle and grandfather's fault for throwing the heavy burden on you. If this continues, Chubao will become a work machine." After hearing this, Xu Chuyuan couldn't help but laugh and said, "How could it be so exaggerated? Mommy can handle it, okay." Although that's the case, the little one's voice was still a bit low, "But Chubao is very hard-working, and besides, you're still going to Haicheng this time. Isn't that a place Chubao hates? If you don't take me with you yet, what if you meet someone you dislike and bully you? I can't protect you anymore." Xu Chuyuan was deeply moved as he listened to his son's words of support. "My own baby, it's really heartwarming." She is truly grateful that she was able to give birth to him back then. 5 years ago, after divorcing Bai Lianhua, she became homeless because she had no family. "I originally wanted to find a job and start over, but ended up facing frequent setbacks. Later, she found out that it was the Su family who deliberately suppressed her from behind and didn't want her to feel better. And her former friends have also distanced themselves from her due to her identity change. At the darkest moment of her life, she realized that she was pregnant. Pregnant with a pair of twins. The arrival of 2 children became the only light in her dark days. However, when she was 8 months pregnant, she had an accident and her child was born prematurely. The doctor put in a lot of effort and only managed to save her and her son's lives. My little daughter is gone. The pain of losing her flesh and blood almost made her unable to recover. At that time, her biological parents came to her door and picked her up. Later, she found out that she was the lost daughter of the Xu family, the richest man in Kyoto. Back then, by chance in the hospital, she was held by the Xu family in Haicheng. In recent years, in order to make up for her past shortcomings, her family has given her all their love. My son also grew up healthy and healed her. Xu Chuyuan regained consciousness from his memories and comforted his son, "It's okay, don't worry. Mommy's not that easy to bully, and besides, this time mommy just came over here to have a surgery and a meeting, and she will go back the day after tomorrow. So, don't worry, don't cause trouble again, okay?" Upon hearing my mother's words steadily, I could only listen and say, "All right. Then I'll be at home, waiting patiently for Chubao. Chubao must also take good care of his body, rest well, and call me when he has time." Okay. After chatting with his son for a while, Xu Chuyuan reluctantly hung up the phone and went to change clothes. This surgery is indeed tiring. She and her best friend even made plans to have dinner together and planned to go back to rest after finishing. Quickly, she changed her clothes and left the lounge. Not long after Xu Chuyuan left, the dean came over with a group of people. The leader, dressed in a handmade tailored suit that fits well, has a wide shoulder and narrow waist, which is complemented by a tall and slender figure. The 3-dimensional facial features are extremely rare and beautiful, with a pair of narrow phoenix eyes that are as black as ink, carrying a sense of arrogance that overlooks all things. The cold and noble aura emanating from his body immediately indicates that he is someone who has long held a high position. The dean's attitude towards him was extremely respectful. "Mr. Bo, this is it. Dr. Xu, who has just completed the surgery, should be in the rest room. If she is willing to take action this time, there may be hope for a cure for her expensive ear disease." Bai Lianhua nodded slightly, gesturing for him to knock on the door. "Kowtow, Dr. Xu, are you there?" "Kowtow, Dr. Xu." However, the dean knocked on the door for half a day, but no one answered inside. The dean looked puzzled and had to push the door in. As a result, the spacious lounge was already empty, so where else could there be any divine doctor? The dean's expression suddenly felt a bit awkward. After waiting for so long, Bai Lianhua couldn't help feeling a bit unhappy at the moment. What's going on? What's going on? The dean's cold sweat was about to come down, and he quickly explained, "Well, maybe we're late, she's gone." Bai Lianhua frowned. He deliberately scheduled all the work and came specifically to look for people, but ended up failing. He immediately asked the dean, "When will Dr. Xu come next time?" The dean shook his head nervously and said, "Maybe. She won't come. She came here this time because of friendly assistance. This surgery is too complicated for anyone to do, and we put in a lot of effort to invite someone over." After hearing the dean's words, Bai Lianhua's face was so black that it could almost drip ink. The dean looked at it and panicked, quickly adding, "Mr. Bo, don't worry. Although Dr. Xu will not come again, if you want to see her, there is still a chance. As far as I know, she will still stay in Haicheng for 1 or 2 days to hold a medical seminar. Perhaps Mr. Bo can go to the venue to find someone." After receiving this news, Bai Lianhua's face finally improved a bit. He said to the dean, "Got it, thank you." Subsequently, without wasting time, he turned around and left the lounge. Chapter 5. Making a first wish, you finally appear. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After she walked for a while, Uncle Lin took Xing'er to the elevator entrance. As soon as I arrived, I met Bai Lianhua and his group head on. Xing'er. Bai Lianhua saw his precious daughter and immediately shouted out loud. The little girl saw Daddy appear and pouted, looking as if she didn't want to pay much attention to him. Upon seeing her small expression, Bai Lianhua crouched down, picked up the person, and asked, "What's wrong?" "This is an unhappy expression. Who brought you here?" Xing'er tugged at her beautiful little skirt and didn't look at him. I just said in a stuffy little milk voice, come on, check Daddy's location. Bai Lianhua is a bit incredulous. This little girl is only 4 years old, why is she so brave to run out on her own? Thinking of the woman scolding on the phone just now, he couldn't help but say, "Do you know how dangerous it is to run out alone? What if something happens?" Xing'er turned her head and pouted, "Daddy. We're going to have a new baby soon. Don't worry, Xing'er. Don't care." In this little milk voice, there is a strong sense of grievance. Bai Lianhua couldn't help but be taken aback. Then, his face turned cold and he asked, "Where did you hear that?" Xing'er's eyes were red and her tone was nasal. She said pitifully, "The maid auntie said. That person vomited and had a baby. After giving birth to a son, she won't hurt Xing'er anymore." Speaking of this, she could no longer hold back her tears, and, slap, they fell down. Bai Lianhua instantly understood what was going on. Probably at home, there was a servant chewing on his tongue when this little girl heard him. His face suddenly turned gloomy, and he ordered Qi Yan next to him, after going back, change all the servants in the house. Yes. Qi Yan immediately took command. Bai Lianhua hugged his daughter with heartache and comforted her, "Xing'er is good, don't listen to others' nonsense. Daddy only has you as a baby, and he only cares about Xing'er." Upon hearing these words, Xing'er sobbed and said, "How pitiful and pitiful is it? There won't be a new baby." Without hesitation, Bai Lianhua nodded and said, "Really? Daddy won't lie to you, so you can't run out alone in the future, you know. I heard about you just now and almost ran into danger." Speaking of this, he finally remembered something and scanned the parking lot with his gaze. "But I didn't even notice the familiar Qianying that used to be there. There was only a man in the shape of a driver standing there." Xing'er nodded and told her father, it was a beautiful aunt who helped pick up the hearing aid. "But she left." Bai Lianhua squinted his eyes and repeated, "Are you leaving?" Daddy." "Slow down," said Xing'er with a disappointed expression. This statement seems to be disdainful. If he had come quickly earlier, he would have seen his beautiful aunt. At this moment, Uncle Lin finally found an opportunity to interject, "Hello, it was indeed my young lady who helped this little sister. She was lying alone under our car, picking up things. Fortunately, my young lady discovered it in time, so nothing happened." Bai Lianhua's eyes twitched slightly and he couldn't help but ask, "Your young lady? I don't know how to call her. She helped my daughter, and I should thank her and repay her." This. Uncle Lin hesitated for a moment. He remembered his own young lady, who had always been well protected by his family. Apart from the top circle in Kyoto, few people knew about her identity. Moreover, she also holds the divine medical identity. "I walked so fast just now, obviously I didn't want to leak." So Uncle Lin said, "There's no need to repay. My young lady has always been willing to help others, and she won't care about this small matter. Since the child has been returned to you, I'll say goodbye." Seeing that the other party didn't want to say anything, Bai Lianhua didn't force himself and nodded. "I just have some doubts in my heart. Isn't the person who called me making a wish? Is it just that the sound is similar? The reason for thinking this way is that after Xu Chuyuan severed ties with the Xu family, there were no more relatives. But just now the driver was a young lady, with a very professional demeanor and etiquette, completely providing services for the wealthy." Bai Bai Lianhua cannot associate the initial wish of having no father or mother with such a background. He couldn't figure it out for a moment and decided to take Xing'er back to the car, ready to ask his precious daughter again. However, before I could even make it, my phone rang. It was Su Lingwei who called. Bai Lianhua has taken it. On the phone, Su Lingwei spoke in a very urgent tone and said, Yanzhou, I just heard from my family servant that Xing'er is missing. Did she come to see you? The butler and his team are going crazy. I am also preparing to return from the crew now. If you have any news, remember to let me know. Bai Lianhoua's eyes darkened slightly and he asked coldly, Xing'er is missing. Why did the servant at home inform you first? Su Lingwei didn't expect that he would turn around and ask this, his breath stopping. Subconsciously, he explained, this. Maybe the last time I told them to talk to me about Xing'er's situation at any time. You know, Xing'er doesn't like to interact with me very much. I just wanted to build a good relationship with her, that's why. Her explanation was not believed by Bai Lianhua. On the contrary, in a place that Su Lingwei couldn't see, Bai Lianhoua's gaze exuded a hint of coldness. Su Lingwei, don't stretch your hands too long. I hate others the most, they do some small movements behind my back. After speaking, without waiting for a response from the other side, Bai Lianhua hung up the phone directly. Qi Yan in the front seat can feel the anger of his CEO without looking. Su Lingwei, on the other hand, is increasingly not treating herself as an outsider. She really thinks she's the mistress of the Bai family and dares to bribe servants. Even chewing your tongue in front of the young lady. This has already violated the CEO's scale. You should know that the young lady is the CEO's darling. If Su Lingwei continues to be arrogant, her ultimate fate will definitely not be much better. Where did Su Lingwei know about this? After being hung up on the phone, she almost bit her silver teeth. Unexpectedly, Bai Lianhua issued a warning to himself for the sake of that little bastard. What's wrong with her bribing servants? Over the years, if it weren't for his constant maintenance of that, unknown origin, lowly race, how could he not have been able to enter the door of the Bai family? She just wanted the servant to subtly remind the dead girl that she would become her mother in the future. Unexpectedly, the little bastard even ran out without permission. Su Lingwei couldn't help but think maliciously. Why didn't you get hit by a car or kidnapped when you went out today? This way, it saves me a lot of trouble. Chapter 6. Dangerous Ex-Husband. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the other hand, after leaving the hospital, Xu Chuyuan went to meet his best friend Xu. On the way here, her mood was inevitably affected. It's not that I can't put it down yet. But instead, he thought that after the divorce, Bai Lianhua had been with Su Lingwei and had a child. But she was extremely angry because she lost her daughter due to premature birth. How could that dog man from Bai Lianhua deserve such a lovely daughter? After cursing in my heart, the car finally arrived at the agreed restaurant. Xu is already waiting at the door. She saw Xu Chuyuan get off the car and her face was a bit gloomy. She quickly stepped forward and asked, "What's wrong with this? I'm so angry. Is it because I came all the way to see you for surgery and I'm not happy? My fault, my fault. Even though I know you don't like Haicheng, I asked you to make a special trip. Don't be angry, I ordered a big meal tonight to compensate you. It's been so hard." As she spoke, she eagerly helped Xu Chuyuan rub her shoulders and back, pushing her to the seat. The appearance of this dog leg successfully made Xu Chuyuan laugh. She quickly said, "It's not because of this unhappiness." Xu looked at her in confusion and asked after her, "What's that for?" Xu Chuyuan originally didn't want to mention it. But she knew that if she didn't say anything, Xu would definitely worry or have wild thoughts. So, succinctly, he said, "I just met someone I didn't want to see by chance." Xu only met Xu Chuyuan a few years ago when he went abroad for further studies. Although their relationship is good, she actually doesn't have a deep understanding of Xu Chuyuan's past. I only know that she was originally from Haicheng and had even divorced before. As for who the divorce target is, she has no idea at all and has not inquired about it. At this moment, looking at Xu Chuyuan's unattractive expression, she immediately asked with concern, "Did that person bully you?" Xu Chuyuan shook his head and said, "That's not." After listening, Shen Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief and said, "No, it's good. I thought someone was bothering you. However, since it's someone you don't want to see, it means the other person is not important. Since it's not important, why bother getting angry about him? It's not worth it. Here, hurry up and have some delicious food. I'll take you to relax and change your mood later. If you're lucky, maybe you can have a romantic encounter. Isn't it great to forget the old when you have a new person?" Xu Chuyuan felt a burst of laughter and said, "Let's just forget about encountering such a thing. She doesn't have much interest in sexual encounters or anything like that." However, Shen Qingqing had a lively temperament and immediately arranged for it. "It's rare for you to visit Haicheng, of course, happiness is the most important thing. Don't worry, just treat it like seeing handsome men and beautiful women, taking care of your eyes, and leave it to me to arrange." She quickly took out her phone and started calling out to friends. As the two of them waited for the waiter to serve, she summoned everyone, but Xu Chuyuan couldn't stop them in time. Of course, Shen Qingqing also knew Xu Chuyuan's temperament. Having known her for so many years, she rarely appears in such occasions. Shen Qingqing comforted and said, "Don't worry, what I'm calling are all my friends and Fa Shao, not any unscrupulous people. Besides, if you're not in a good mood, even if you go back, you may not be able to sleep, right? So, just pass the time at that time. When you're tired, tell me, and I'll definitely take you home immediately." Xu Chu's wish is speechless. She can't fall asleep alone. Especially today, I also met Yanzhou. She was afraid that when she was alone, she couldn't help but think of her deceased daughter, so she accepted Shen Qingqing's kindness and said, "Okay, then I'll listen to you." After dinner, Xu Chuyuan was taken by Shen Qingqing and headed straight to a top-tier business bar in Haicheng. When the two of them arrived, those friends had already arrived. "Qingqing, here." Someone with sharp eyes saw Shen Qingqing and immediately waved to them. Shen Qingqing immediately went over with Xu Chuyuan. As soon as they arrived, everyone spoke up and said, "Why did the person you made an appointment with arrive late instead? Is this the Dr. Xu you told us about? Wow, beautiful woman, why did she introduce us to you so late? You're not friends enough." "Hello Miss Xu." The people present were almost the nobles of Haicheng, each with an extraordinary family background. Seeing Xu Chuyuan, they are very polite and enthusiastic. Xu Chuyuan was originally a bit reserved, but seeing them so friendly, he gradually relaxed. As they were out to play, the group sat down at the booth and asked the waiter to serve drinks, exchange glasses, chat and play games together, creating a lively atmosphere. Xu Chuyuan didn't have a good tolerance for alcohol, but due to the atmosphere, he took a sip. At this moment, a young master suddenly sat next to her and smiled shyly, saying, "Hello Dr. Xu, I haven't had the chance to talk to you just now. My name is Lu Qingjin, and I am also a medical student. I am already in my senior year, and I often hear Qingqing mention you. She always said that you have excellent medical skills, and I have read some of your published papers. I have read the ancient Chinese medicine acupuncture and moxibustion therapy several times, and benefited a lot. I'm really happy to meet Dr. Xu today. May I offer you a toast?" Upon hearing this, Xu Chuyuan was somewhat surprised and couldn't help but look at the person in front of him below. This is a clean and handsome big boy named Lu Qingjin. The body exudes a scholarly and elegant aura, giving people a comfortable feeling. Moreover, because the other party was also studying medicine, Xu Chuyuan had some favorable feelings for this and said generously, "Of course." She picked up her wine glass. Lu Qingjin couldn't help but be delighted and clinked glasses with her. The actions of the two were noticed by the people next to them. One of the men chuckled and said, "Qingjin, this kid really admires Dr. Su. When he sees his goddess, he pretends to be obedient. He doesn't usually behave like this in front of us. Who makes Dr. Su's medical skills so good, and he looks so amazing. His looks are amazing, and even a woman like me would be tempted to see him." At this moment, the atmosphere downstairs is lively. On the VIP card seat on the second floor, Bai Lianhua was discussing a project with an important client. When he mentioned the price, he heard cheers from somewhere downstairs. His gaze casually swept towards that direction. "It's okay if I don't look at it." At first glance, I was instantly attracted by a beautiful shadow. The woman was wearing a plain-colored dress, with a slightly curled long hair draped behind her, and every move was full of anticipation. She sat in the corner of the booth, drinking and chatting happily with a young man. As both men, he could tell at a glance that there was an irresistible appreciation in the man's eyes. Despite the dim lighting in the bar, there was still a long distance between them. After 3 years of marriage and countless intimate encounters between the two, he still instantly recognized that person. Not exactly, did his ex-wife make her first wish. After hiding for so many years, she really appeared. Bai Lianhua suddenly stood up, his gaze burning and fixed on the figure downstairs. Chapter 7. It's better to do it directly than to say it in words. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The client sitting opposite him was frightened by his sudden action, thinking that he was not satisfied with the terms of this cooperation, which led to such an excited reaction. He couldn't help feeling anxious and said, "Mr. Bai, if you're not satisfied with the terms this time, then we can renegotiate." Next to him, Qi Yan noticed the gaze of his CEO and knew that it was not because of this. He quickly stood up and said on behalf of his own president, "Mr. Chen, the contract will be signed according to this, and there is no need to renegotiate. Our president has something else to attend to. Let's stop here tonight." Upon hearing this, Mr. Chen glanced at Bai Lianhua and was unsure if it was what Qi Yan had said. However, Bai Lianhua's pitch-black face, with a cold and terrifying aura, seemed unlikely to respond to him. Mr. Chen was trembling with fear and quickly nodded, "I know now, so I won't delay Mr. Bai's important matters." After Mr. Chen finished speaking, he quickly packed his things and left. After waiting for someone to leave, Qi Yankai looked downstairs again, and his expression was also very surprised. The person in the booth downstairs, surprisingly, is really the former CEO's wife. Just now he thought he was mistaken. No wonder our CEO has such a big reaction. This is the talent that once plagued the CEO with rumors. Moreover, our CEO has been looking for him for over 4 years, but we can't find any trace of him. Now it appears in such a way. Qi Yan could clearly feel the dangerous atmosphere and low pressure emanating from his CEO. It's like seeing the prey that has been searching for a long time. It's scary. At this moment, Xu Chuyuan didn't even know that he had been targeted. She and Lu Qingjin talked about many medical-related topics together. Xu Chuyuan discovered that although the other party was still a senior student, they also had their own outstanding insights in some areas. Unconsciously, she finished several glasses of wine, and by the time she realized it, she was already slightly tipsy. "I can't drink anymore." Xu Chuyuan had a voice in his mind reminding him. "After all, there is still one day of the meeting tomorrow, so we still have to go up and speak, so we cannot drop the chain. I'll go to the restroom, excuse me." Xu Chuyuan stopped chatting and planned to wash his face, wake up, and then go home. Unexpectedly, I just stood up and felt dizzy in front of me. She stumbled for a moment. Seeing this, Lu Qingjin beside him quickly reached out to help her and asked with concern, "Dr. Su, are you okay?" "No, it's okay." Xu Chuyuan felt a bit uncomfortable and quickly withdrew his hand. Lu Qingjin noticed her avoidance and didn't mind, continuing to care and ask, "Are you drunk?" Xu Chuyuan shook his head and said, "No, it's just that I felt a bit dizzy when I first got up. It'll be over in a while." That's what he said, but Lu Qingjin still felt a little uneasy about her. "Why don't I help you over there? Qingqing just met an acquaintance and was called away, but hasn't come back yet." Upon hearing what he said, Xu Chuyuan glanced at the audience and found that Qingqing was indeed not there. But she also did not agree with Lu Qingjin's suggestion and politely declined again, "No need, thank you. I can go by myself." After Xu Chuyuan finished speaking, he crossed over Lu Qingjin and walked out. Although she feels a bit dizzy, her consciousness is still clear and she walks quite steadily. However, when leaving the card slot, she didn't notice the wine bottle under the slot. This caused her to step on it and slip instantly. "Ah!" Xu Chuyuan only had time to exclaim in surprise. Following closely, the body uncontrollably falls forward. Lu Qingjin quickly stood up, wanting to grab her, but just as his hand was about to touch someone, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. The person rushed ahead of him, stretched out his arm, grabbed Xu Chuyuan's waist and carried him in his arms. And Lu Qingjin's hand was heavily blocked by that person. Xu Chuyuan also felt that someone had caught him. She vigorously supported her waist and then fell into a warm embrace. Xu Chuyuan's mind was completely blank, and he couldn't calm down for a while. As soon as I reacted, I smelled a cold cedar scent that spread through my nose, and there was also an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Before she could think it over, she blurted out, "Thank you very much." Then lift your head, intending to stand straight and withdraw from the other person's embrace. As a result, it was okay not to lift her eyes. When she lifted her eyes, her pupils suddenly shrank and she was greatly frightened. In front of him was a stunning face, with deep and delicate facial features. On the high and straight bridge of the nose, there were a pair of narrow and deep phoenix eyes. That gaze was like a deep pool, looking at me with a deep and dark expression, icy and piercing, yet also harboring endless danger. Xu Chuang's scalp is about to explode. She suspected that she was really drunk before she saw that scumbag from Yanzhou. She almost reflexively pushed people away. However, the man's arms, like steel, tightly imprisoned her. The big hand that held onto her waist tightened in displeasure, and a slight pain came to remind Xu Chuyuan that this was not an illusion. Xu Chuyuan looked at the man in front of him with a surprised expression on his face. "This is actually... it's true." The person she didn't want to see in any way, she really appeared in front of her at this moment. After Xu Chuyuan realized it, he pushed him away desperately and said, "You. Let go of me." Bai Lianhua looked at the woman's angry face and his expression became even colder. 5 years have passed, and this woman has finally appeared before his eyes. Bai Lianhua squinted his eyes and made his initial wish. Compared to before, her appearance has changed a lot. This bright little face is more stunning and charming than ever before, and its figure is also more superior and charming. However, the always gentle and obedient eyebrows and eyes are no longer as obedient as before, but rather more sharp and resistant. Resistance. Feeling her emotions, Bai Lianhua felt an inexplicable surge of anger in his heart. Just now, she raised her glass and drank to another man, talking and laughing happily. It's not her current attitude. Bai Lianhua gritted his teeth and said, "Let it go. So that you can run away again." His voice seemed to be sandwiched with ice, so cold that Xu Chuyuan instinctively trembled. Her heart trembled and she immediately guessed that the man should have recognized the person in the underground garage as herself. Just, what's going on with him now? What if you recognize your identity? They divorced a long time ago. What is he doing in front of so many people, holding on to himself and not letting go? Xu Chuyuan continued to struggle and said, "You let go." Bai Lianhua showed no signs of letting people go. Her strength is not worth mentioning in front of him. The people next to me are all stunned at this moment and have no idea what the situation is. Especially when they recognize the man in front of them as the current head of the Bai family, everyone's expressions were even more bewildered. Rumor has it that this person is not close to women, cold and inhumane, very difficult to approach. Even Su Lingwei from the Su family must maintain a certain distance from him. But now, why is he holding on to Dr. Su and not letting him go? Chapter 8. Sweated by Kiss. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Just as everyone was stunned, Lu Qingjin also emerged from the card holder. The goddess almost fell and was held in such an embrace. Although the other party is the CEO of Bai's prestigious position, he is not afraid. Lu Qingjin stepped forward and said, "Mr. Bai, thank you for holding on to my friend. Now, please let go of her." He could tell that Dr. Su was very reluctant now. However, when his hand wanted to pick up Xu Chuyuan, the man in front of him had a sharp gaze and hugged Xu Chuyuan to the other side, leaving his outstretched hand empty. At the same time, Bai Lianhua's deep eyes were also fixed on Lu Qingjin. Just now, it was this man who had a great conversation with Xu Chuyuan. Looking at him up close, this person is even younger than he expected, full of vitality, and looks like a college student. Bai Lianhua suddenly felt displeased and his aura was fully activated. The chilling pressure intimidated everyone and made them hesitant to speak. He said coldly, "Which of you is also qualified to take care of my and her affairs?" His voice was not loud, but the aura emanating from him made Lu Qingjin feel an unprecedented sense of oppression. He was actually intimidated by Bai Lianhua. Others are even more afraid to act recklessly when they see the situation. After all, the Bai family cannot afford it, and the Bai Banzhou in front of them cannot afford it even more. Bai Lianhua is too lazy to waste too much time here. He forcibly left with Xu Chuyuan in front of everyone. I was surprised to make my initial wish. She doesn't understand what kind of madness this man is going through. After 5 years of divorce and meeting again, shouldn't he be like himself, treating the other person as a stranger? Why did you actively come over? If I remember correctly, the person who was in a hurry to get divorced back then Xu Chuyuan tried to shake off the hand of the man in front of him. Bai Banzhou remained indifferent. Quickly, the two of them left their original place and passed through the corridor. Xu Chuyuan's temper also rose and he finally questioned with anger, "Bai Lianhua, where are you taking me? What do you really want to do?" She struggled fiercely, like a hedgehog. Li Dao went crazy, and even Bai Lianhua couldn't hold back. Coincidentally, there was a safe passage next to it, and there was no one. Bai Lianhua brought Xu Chuyuan in and also let go of it. He caught Xu Chuyuan off guard and stumbled, lightly bumping his back against the wall. "It doesn't hurt, but my head is shaking and dizzy." She paused for several seconds before lifting her head, and then realized that her current situation was somewhat unfavorable. In the dim corridor, there were only her and Bai Lianhua. The man stood in front of her, looking down at her from a high position. Compared to 5 years ago, his aura is even stronger, especially his pair of cool phoenix eyes, which look oppressive to him. Xu Chuyuan got stuck in the corner, his whole body suddenly tense up, inexplicably feeling a little nervous. On second thought, what is there to be nervous about? They have nothing to do now. Thinking of this, Xu Chuyuan calmed down again. She looked coldly at the man in front of her and asked, "Mr. Bai, what exactly is going on with you? You might as well speak up. What kind of tugging look like?" "I don't know, I thought you had no more feelings for me." Bai Lianhua sneered and said, "Is the remaining affection unfinished?" "Oh, make your initial wish, you must have looked up to yourself too much." Xu Chuyuan pretended to be indifferent and said, "Isn't that right? What did Mr. Bai pull me out for? It's not for nostalgia, is it? Then hurry up. For the sake of knowing each other for so many years, I'm giving you this face. Although, I don't think there's anything old to talk about between us. Bai Lianhua was already a bit unhappy, and now when he heard this woman's words, his eyes sank to the bottom of the valley. He said coldly, Xu Chuyuan, is this your attitude towards the benefactor who helped you out? Xu Chuyuan frowned and sneered coldly, I didn't ask Mr. Bai to help, did I? Besides, I have already said thank you. Just give this a helping hand. What kind of benefactor is it? If you have nothing to do, just step aside. Don't delay me from having fun. After speaking, she planned to leave. Come back. Bai Lianhua seemed to have thought of something, his eyes darkened and he pulled the person back. He propped his hands on the wall, trapping people between him and the wall. His tall body exuded a dangerous aura, and his tone was even more stern. What kind of fun are you looking for? Is that little boy just now? Xu Chuyuan, you're not young anymore. You're flirting with someone who looks like a college student, not shy. Xu Chuyuan was stunned by his words. When did she flirt with a little boy? This person can't be talking about Lu Chengjin, right? Xu Chuyuan's face instantly sank. Not seen in 5 years, she really didn't expect that this man would put such a hat on himself as soon as he came up. The key is, even if you really flirt with others, what is the relationship with his ex-husband? He managed too leniently. Xu Chuyuan was also a bit angry in his heart. Especially when she thought about this man, who even had children with other women, but could still question herself with this confident attitude, her anger suddenly rose. Xu Chuyuan replied impolitely, what should I be ashamed of? The little boy is young, inexperienced, and has a simple mind. How tempting. Sisters and siblings are quite popular these days. Mr. Bai, you, who are getting older, probably don't understand the fun of it, do you? Upon hearing these words, Bai Lianhua's chest swelled with anger. Xu Chuyuan didn't finish his wish and continued, Mr. Bai, if you didn't like it back then, naturally someone else would appreciate it. Besides, who I am with now should have nothing to do with you, right? Don't be too unattractive if you don't want it and don't allow others to worry about your face. After saying these words, she suddenly pushed away the man in front of her with a cold expression. She completely regarded Bai Lianhua's behavior at this moment as a domineering mentality of the other party. He doesn't like himself, and when he first proposed divorce, he didn't hesitate in his attitude. Now in this sour mockery, it's nothing more than not being able to stand it. Someone has been contaminated with something he's been playing with. Xu Chuyuan's emotions fluctuated just now, but at least he wasn't upset. But at this moment, there is an indescribable sourness emerging. 5 years have passed, and she has learned how to face anything calmly. But at this moment, I was still stabbed in the heart by this man. Why is this dog man? Chapter 9. The Little Fox Spirit That Flies People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xu Chuyuan was particularly irritable and turned around wanting to leave directly. Can Bai Lianhua easily let her go? He had been looking for this woman for so many years, and finally caught her. He lifted his steps and chased after Xu Chuyuan, and just as he opened the door, he slammed it back. Make a wish. Did I let you go? He suddenly approached, Xu Chuyuan's entire back almost touching his body. Xu Chuyuan became a bit impatient and turned around in a cold tone, saying, what else do you have? There are so many things. Do you know how much trouble you caused me after you left back then? Bai Lianhua gritted his back teeth and turned over the old accounts. First, there were rumors that I was infertile, and then I did that kind of crazy abandonment. I made my initial wish, you have too much to compensate for. Xu Chuyuan heard his crazy abandonment and felt inexplicably strange. Who abandoned who in the beginning? After signing the divorce agreement back then, she didn't even ask for a penny and left. Who exactly needs to compensate who? How could he say this so confidently and confidently? Xu Chuyuan was so angry that she was about to retort when the man in front of her suddenly grabbed her hands and fixed them on her head. Then he pinched her waist and said harshly, "Xu Chuyuan, since you've come back, don't think you can easily leave again. Take what you should bear well." After speaking, he lowered his head and fiercely sucked a mark on Xu Chuyuan's neck, even biting his teeth in retaliation. His movements were too fast, and Xu Chuyuan didn't react at first. It wasn't until the piercing pain came from his skin that he realized what had happened. This man is actually taking advantage of himself. Xu Chuyuan was stunned by his shameless demeanor. With unknown strength, he broke free from his shackles and slapped him directly. Pa! A loud slap fell on Bai Lianhua's face. In the stairwell, there was still an echo. "Bai Lianhua, you are so shameless." Xu Chuyuan covered his neck, feeling extremely humiliated and angry. Her slap left no trace of effort and deflected Bai Lianhua's face. On the handsome face of the man, there was no hint of anger. He pressed his tongue against his numb cheeks and spoke with a hint of triumphant pleasure, saying, "Am I shameless now? If I remember correctly, Miss Xu was even bolder than me back then. I just kissed her now, what's the point?" Xu Chuyuan's chest swelled with anger. She stared at Bai Lianhua in front of her and asked, "So, are you retaliating against me? Revenge her for what she did to him that night 5 years ago." At that time, she didn't want to suffer losses and, like the queen, wanted to humiliate him, so he held a grudge. Bai Lianhua also does not deny it. His gaze returned to her face and he said, "Yes, I'm just retaliating against you. If you have the ability, just stand up and flirt with others. As long as you have the courage, I can guarantee that next time, I can be even more shameless. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try." After saying these words, Bai Lianhua didn't make things difficult for her anymore. He opened the door between the hallways and walked away with a long step. Watching his figure disappear, Xu Chuyuan stood there dumbfounded, a bit incredulous of what had just happened. There was still a slight stabbing pain in her neck, reminding her that all of this was true. After 5 years, she was taken advantage of by Bai Lianhua. Xu Chuyuan trembled with anger and quickly took out his phone to act as a mirror. "I saw a prominent red kiss mark on the slender neck. Because the skin is too fair, that mark is even more prominent." She even felt that the man's breath and lip temperature were still lingering on it. Xu Chuyuan put away his phone, but his mood couldn't recover for half a day. For 5 years, she has relied on the protection of her parents and brothers to strive to become stronger. She thought there was nothing else that could make her emotions fluctuate anymore. As soon as the man appeared, he easily stirred up ripples on her calm heart lake. At this moment, the phone held in the palm of the hand suddenly rang, interrupting Xu Chuyuan's thoughts. Xu Chuyuan glanced and saw that Xu Chuyuan had called her. She quickly picked it up and before she could even speak, she heard Xu Chuyuan's tone anxiously asking, "Chu, where are you now? I heard them say you were taken away by Bai Lianhua. Are you okay? How did you know Bai Lianhua? Did he do anything to you? You asked so many questions at once, I don't even know which one to reply to." Xu Chuyuan jokingly said. "Oh my, you're really anxious about me." "Of course," everyone answered. "He didn't do anything to you, did he? Don't be afraid, I'll go save you now." Xu Chuyuan understood that Xu Chuyuan was really worried about her, and felt a little touched in his heart. She smiled and replied, "I'm not teasing you anymore. I'm fine, you don't need to come over specifically. I've already gone home. For the matter of Bai Lianhua, as well as her past. I don't even want to mention her initial wish." But she was also worried that Xu Chuyuan would ask further questions, so she said, "I just had a drink and I didn't feel well, so I can't go back. Can you help me apologize to your friends? I was impolite tonight." At present, there was such a noticeable mark on her neck that a discerning eye could tell at a glance what it was. She really doesn't have the face to go back and see those people. Upon hearing Xu Chuyuan's normal voice, Shen Qingqing reluctantly let go and said, "What's going on here? Everyone is quite worried about you, so as long as you're okay, since you're back, let's rest early. You have a meeting tomorrow. If there's anything, let's talk later." "Well, good." After hanging up the phone, Xu Chuyuan's mood also calmed down a bit. She didn't linger any longer and quickly contacted Uncle Lin, asking him to pick her up at the club entrance before leaving. When she left, she didn't see a black Maybach parked on the roadside outside the club. Bai Lianhua sat in the back seat, watching her get in the car and leave. After the car that had made the initial wish completely disappeared into the night, Bai Lianhua instructed Qi Yan in the front seat, "Go check her current residence and what the group of people inside just now are all from." Speaking of the group inside, Bai Lianhua's tone cooled down again. "Yes." Qi Yan probably knew the reason and dared not neglect it, so he immediately took orders. "Let's go back first. Tomorrow, we need to take Xinger and go find Dr. Su." Good. Qi Yan nodded, started the car, and returned to Bo's manor. Chapter 10. Missing you and unable to sleep. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When we got home, it was already very late. Bai Lianhua did not return to his room and went to see his daughter as usual. Unexpectedly, when she entered the door, she found the little girl still asleep, sitting on the bed with a cloth doll in her arms, crying pitifully. Her nanny Chiu was comforting her on the side. Bai Lianhua walked in and frowned, asking, "Why haven't you slept yet? Are you still crying like this?" As soon as Xiaoxinger saw him, she reached out and asked him to hold her. Bai Lianhua walked forward in 3 or 2 steps and picked up his precious daughter. The little girl immediately hugged his neck and leaned her head against his shoulder, sobbing and crying uncontrollably. Bai Lianhua patted her back with heartache and then asked Qiuxiao, "What's wrong with Xinger?" Auntie Qiu replied, "The young lady may have had a nightmare. She just woke up and started crying. No matter how much she tried to coax her, she couldn't do it well." Bai Lianhua understood and said to Qiuxiao, "I understand. You should go rest first." Auntie Qiu nodded and quickly left. After the person left, Bai Lianhua sat down by the bed and gently comforted his daughter, "Did you have a nightmare?" "It's okay, Daddy is here." "What did you dream of? Tell Daddy." The little girl grabbed his clothes, didn't look up, and sobbed, "I dreamt of Mommy." The kids laughed. "There's no Mommy." The little girl spoke intermittently. But Bai Lianhua immediately understood. "This is a dream of being laughed at by children, so I woke up crying non-stop." "These are all dreams, they are fake," said Bai Lianhua, coaxing people helplessly as he spoke. He placed the little girl on her lap and gently rubbed her tears with his big hands. Xinger blushed and looked up to ask him, "Where has Xinger's mother gone?" Upon hearing this question, Bai Lianhua fell silent. He didn't answer, his pitch-black eyes staring at a certain point in the air, somewhat divergent, unsure of what he was thinking. Xinger didn't receive an answer, and her eyes were also somewhat disappointed. Previously, those servants were secretly discussing, saying that she didn't know who was born, and even Daddy didn't know who Mommy was. They even speculated that she was a wild seed left behind by Daddy's socializing outside. It seems what they said is true. Xinger felt a bit sad in her heart, and she couldn't help but think of her beautiful aunt during the day. I don't know why, she likes her aunt so much. If only she were a mom. That would be great. The little girl tearfully tugged at Daddy's clothes and said in a milky voice, "Daddy, how about finding a beautiful aunt?" She helped Xinger, "Thank you." Bai Lianhua was taken aback at the words and said, "The one in the underground garage." Xiaoxinger nodded her head and said, Auntie is very nice and likes." Upon hearing these words, Bai Lianhua couldn't help but feel somewhat surprised. Xiaoxinger is different from other children. Due to ear problems, she actually has a somewhat withdrawn personality. She doesn't like to interact with strangers on weekdays except for her family. There aren't many people she can say she likes. That woman during the day is still the first until now. Bai Lianhua only remembered that he had not yet determined the identity of that person, whether he had made his initial wish or not. He couldn't refuse his daughter's request, but he couldn't give an immediate response either. So he said, "Let's talk about this later. The person has already left, and it will take time to find her. It's already very late now. How about Xinger go to bed first?" "Well. Okay." Xiaoxinger felt a bit reluctant to hear her father say so. "But this big night, I really can't find it either." Therefore, she could only nod and cooperate. Upon seeing her agreement, Bai Lianhua put the person back on the bed and gently coaxed her to sleep. Perhaps she was tired from crying just now, but Xinger quickly fell asleep. Bai Lianhua covered her with a small blanket and left behind a small night light before leaving. Later, after taking a shower and preparing to go to bed, Qi Yan sent the investigation results. One is Xu Chuyuan's current residence, located in the Yunding Villa area. Also, there is information about the group of people tonight. Bai Lianhua took a glance and unexpectedly discovered that those people were all daughters and young masters from several major families in Haicheng. Although their backgrounds are not comparable to those of the Bai family, their identities are not something that ordinary people can make friends with. How did Xu Chuyuan get to know them? Bai Lianhua was surprised and continued to flip his fingers downwards. The bottom information is the surveillance video of the underground garage of the hospital in the afternoon. As he guessed, the person who helped Xinger at that time was really making a wish. This answer did not make Bai Lianhua happy, even his eyes darkened. So, was she walking so fast at that time because she recognized her voice and deliberately avoided it? A hint of displeasure swept through Bai Lianhua's eyes. "Make a wish, if you want to avoid me, it depends on whether I allow it or not." Xu Chuyuan, who returned home, still didn't know that he had been investigated. The first thing she did when she entered the door was to take a shower. During this time, she looked in the mirror and vigorously rubbed the kiss mark on her neck, as if trying to erase the breath left by the man. But her skin turned red from rubbing, and the kiss marks remained unchanged. The next day, even deeper. Xu Chuyuan couldn't help but curse again, "That man belongs to the dog. Bite anyone you see." She had a meeting all day today, so she couldn't even meet anyone like this. In desperation, she could only find foundation make-up to cover the place. Just as she finished giving the order, the phone on the sink also rang. It's a video call from a stable baby. The mood of making the initial wish suddenly turned cloudy and sunny, and immediately picked it up. "Mommy, good morning." The little one greeted her with a milky voice. Xu Chuyuan couldn't help but bend his eyes and replied, "Good morning, baby." After speaking, she looked at the little guy over there. The little baby seems to have just woken up, with a bit sleepy eyes. The cartoon pajamas on her body have not been changed, the silly hair on her head is messy, and her small face is soft and cute, not to mention soft and tender. Xu Chu's wish was about to melt, and he asked, "Why did you just wake up and want to play a video for me?" The little one rubbed his eyes and said softly, "I miss Mommy. Besides, isn't Mommy going to have a meeting today? I came here to cheer Mommy on." Upon hearing these heartwarming words, Xu Chuyuan was moved and said, "Baby, it's really good. Don't worry, Mommy will definitely work hard." After nodding her head steadily twice, she continued to explain, "After the meeting today, Mommy needs to rest well. She will return to Kyoto early tomorrow, and then I will go to the airport with my grandmother to pick you up." "Okay." Xu Chuyuan nodded indulgently. The little one laughed happily and said, "See you tomorrow, Mommy, go have breakfast." "Okay, goodbye." Xu Chuyuan waved at the little guy and hung up the phone. With her precious son's encouragement, her mood has also improved, and she no longer has the same anger as before. As for the neck. It's like being bitten by a dog. After today, she will return to Kyoto and never come to this rundown place again, let alone see Yanzhou again. Thinking of this, Xu Chuyuan's whole body was relieved. Quickly, she finished changing clothes, went downstairs for breakfast, and then headed to the Haiqing International Convention Center.